I'm Tom Collins, Executive Director of Clean Elections, Arizona's nonpartisan voter education agency. And I'm here today with Steve Goldstein, longtime Valley journalist. We're here today to talk about the Clean Elections debate series for 2024. So, Steve, for the folks who may not know who you are, why don't you tell us a few things about yourself? And I will say we're very excited to have you.
I'm very excited to be around. Thank you. So I've been almost a Valley native. We moved here when I was 4 years old. And for the last 25 plus years, I've been a host and reporter for National Public Radio here in Phoenix. Also, you may have seen my mug with a lot more makeup than this on Arizona PBS as a member of the Arizona Horizon team. So really in-depth public policy things. I'm a huge believer in debates. So I'm glad to be here with you, Tom. And I also have some questions I want to ask you, which is that in our times these days where people talk about how divided we are, and I think back to American history, and we all learned about the Lincoln-Douglas debates. As we are in this part of our lives, in this part of the world, in this part of our history, why are debates still so important and still relevant to the public at large?
Well, Steve, I think that, when voters put together the Clean Elections Act, which is the state law that created this program, which is, pretty unique around the country, the idea that you have, voter-driven debates. The idea was we wanted to bring voters into the process and provide voters with the opportunity to hear directly from candidates. And what debates do is, bring together candidates on a neutral ground in front of a moderator like yourself, who has experience in the community and understands it, to have a civil conversation about the direction that they think the state should be going in and why ultimately voters should cast their ballot for that person. So I think it's an important part of how we dialogue as a community. And I think the voters recognize that in creating clean elections. And so that's what we're doing.
How much voter involvement is there when it comes to the actual debates themselves? Obviously, we want as many voters as possible to be watching them and listening to them. But when it actually comes down to what they're going to hear from candidates, what moderators will be doing, how important is voter involvement?
So voter involvement is critical to everything that we do at Clean Elections. For the debate purposes, there are two principal ways in which we gather information about where voters are. First, we do a survey of where voters are asked to identify their main issues and how they're feeling about the state and the nation and where things are headed. That's always available on our website for voters to review themselves to see what other voters are saying. And then we take questions directly from voters through our website. So in preparing for our debate series, those questions will be collected, distributed to our moderators to evaluate, to ensure that, in every debate, there are real questions from real voters that are going to make their way directly to those candidates.
I'm also curious, how would you encourage voters to pay even more attention to these debates, rather than having it be someone solo watching on the laptop or picking up the phone later? Are there things that would be the equivalent of a debate party?
Well, we think we're working with students to help promote debate watching parties through our universities. And we think that's a good idea. The whole idea here is that, we have, like any other event, we have an opportunity here to come together as a community. So if that means for you, if you want to get together to watch the person that you're rooting for, we think that's a great idea. If you have a neighborhood group that you want to bring people together who might have different views to sort of have an opportunity to share that experience, I think that's important. I also think it's still important to have access to your social media and be able to commune that way. I mean, we all know that there are certain events where people will live tweet, and that's now part of what it is to be in a community. And so we think that, the important thing is that this is a dynamic process where we're all coming to a decision, right? We all get to make individual decisions. We all are going to cast our individual ballots, but ultimately, this is about how do we make sure that we are, communicating with one another in a way that we get outcomes that we all understand how they got there, the process. We understand that everyone had an opportunity to be heard, and that really helps bring our elections closer to voters.
It's very exciting. And I want to remind voters to get involved, watch the debates. And as Tom said, your questions, your input, vitally important because these candidates are here to represent you. So please submit your questions. And if you want to find out even more about the process and clean elections debates, please go to azcleanelections.gov. For Executive Director Tom Collins, I'm Steve Goldstein.